Welcome to On the Spectrum. I'm your host, Terri Matthews, and today's do-it-yourself project is with our amazing expert, Stephanie Graff. She's going to be teaching us about no-sew weighted lap pads. Now, this is about to be interesting, and I'm so happy to have you here, Stephanie.
Thank you, Terri, for
and
having me.
excited for all this glittery,
I know,
shiny
isn't this
stuff.
Fun?
Yeah.
So the benefit of my job of working with children is I feel like I'm current with all of like the cool, fabrics and things that our kids are using right now, right? And this mermaid sequence fabric is like totally the thing.
I could
with
clothing.
This,
yeah, like a dress.
Yep, clothing and whatever you want to use. But we're going to use this to make a weighted no-sew lap pad, which that speaks to me because it's no-sew, and I don't sew.
No, I don't sew either, and I think also for busy moms and the safety, because sometimes we think we put everything away and we don't. So
this is an ideal tool for our teachers. It's an ideal tool for our parents. It's an ideal tool for yourself, even, right?
Yeah, because I think you're going to donate one of these for me for my busy life
Yes.
off the camera.
Yes.
So let's talk about like what really goes into this. And first of all, where did you even get this from?
So this is just from like a local retail store, but I just brought this in to show you the fabric and how fun. And this, like I said, it's everywhere. This mermaid, you see it on clothing in children's stores. You see it. The teenagers are wearing it on shirts. And this I got on Amazon. So this is relatively inexpensive. It was under $10.
Wow, under $10.
So it's just the insert, okay?
And what do you look for like on Amazon? Is it like a pillow insert?
Yes,
is that
it's
what
called
you
a mermaid sequence or mermaid skin pillow insert.
Okay, and you can get that on Amazon in 2 days.
Yes, exactly. So we want this to be weighted, and weighted blankets, weighted vests, we hear about this so often, right? In terms of using it as a tool or an intervention for our children with autism. But what I don't know if it's clear is why we weight. Right? What is the point of weighting?
What is weighted vest and what does it actually do? I mean, some parents are using it, but they're not even sure exactly what it does.
Exactly. So let's go back several episodes when I talked about sensory, right? And maybe those sensory bottles. And we talked about those different senses, our 5 senses that we know about, but there's additional 2, the balance system and the deep pressure of our joint system, the proprioception, remember that?
The long word.
So we also know that our children with autism and also children with ADHD or anxiety, sometimes they crave input, right? Or they shy away from it. We call it sensory seeking behavior or sensory avoidance behavior. So this tool, like I said, it's a tool. It's one of our bag of tricks that our therapists, and I'd like to shout out to the OTs because they're really the experts when it comes to really identifying where those sensory needs are and how to support those kids or those adults with those sensory challenges.
We love you, OTs.
So this is a strategy and a tool to address those kids that are our fidgeters, those kids that can't sit still.
So this is outside of those fidget spinners that everybody's gone crazy for. If you're over those fidget spinners, tired of losing them, tired of buying them, this is another thing too that can be used.
So not every child with autism is a candidate for this type of an intervention. This is specifically for those kids that need that deep pressure, that's a calming, reinforcing sensory stimulation that helps them to focus and to attend. We do know from research that deep pressure does produce a chemical response in the brain, getting my science lesson out, of course, that is serotonin released, and that helps to relax or calm the system. So that's why when we do something like this, we do have a direct response in seeing the kid or child or the adult sit longer for a longer duration to work on a task activity. It also helps regulate, the self-regulation of, which is a word that we often refer to with our kids with sensory needs, that they don't know how to self-regulate. This is a self-regulation strategy. So it's very low cost. It can be done easily at home. I wanted to just show you, I used the materials today. So you
brought a beach towel.
An old raggedy beach towel from my linen closet, which everybody should have an old towel. These are Ziploc bags, snack size, that are filled with those aquarium
So I'm going to pick this up so our audience can see this. And please feel free, if you have any questions about, right now, Stephanie has some beads that are in here. I'm not sure how hard it is for you all to see that. But what, maybe there are other things that people can use, beans or rice or other things. Sand. If you have any questions, please comment below because we want to make sure that we're answering. You might have something in your house.
Yes, and like I said, there's a load of resources online. I think in the actual instructions online, I referenced a site, but there's loads of resources on how to what materials you might want to use. The sand, you can use larger Ziploc bags. The key thing and why we use Ziploc bags and why I want to talk about the weight is that research tells us specifically for a weighted lap pad, it should really not exceed more than 5% of the total body weight of the individual.
Right.
So that's important. So you really need to know how much weight you're putting into these bags.
So could you just take this also to kind of put it on the scale?
Correct.
And you don't want it to
Exactly.
be more than 5% of your child or adult
Right.
or your weight if you're using it, because I will be using it.
Exactly. So, and then the reason I put them into Ziploc bags is because if I were to take a large gallon-sized Ziploc bag and dump these beads in, when you went to use it, it might be all on one side. Do you know what I mean?
It gets
So this
shifted
is
around.
a distribution, and it makes an equal distribution, and then I reinforce it from a safety perspective with duct tape. So I usually make an X, I reinforce each of the tops so that, our real highly fidgeting, active kids can't get in there and take this apart.
So that's like an extra safety measure.
Yep, exactly.
So then basically you just fold this over?
Fold it over.
Now I know right now because of TV time's sake, but you could technically tape this up so that
it's safe and sturdy. Exactly. Okay. So we're going to fold it over and stuff it in here. Now, what I like about and why a lap pad is a little bit more beneficial.
Is this 5% of my weight? This is kind of heavy.
Well, I was kind of estimating, but I believe me when I tell you how much it is, you'll be like, oh, it's because of the distribution.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Versus if you pick up a barbell or something.
Okay.
So with a lap pillow, unlike a weighted blanket, so what do you think? Do you think what's beneficial about something like this?
I would think because, well, one, it'd be easier to carry. When Jaden was younger, we had a weighted blanket. I mean, to tug this thing around and everywhere was big.
Right.
So going to restaurants or being in his classroom or taking him to the movie theater and placing it on him.
Exactly. So this is transportable, right? So car rides, like think about your transition. So I work with children that are ages birth to 3. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my children, they're about 2.5 that are walking. I might create a weighted backpack for them so that they could wear it on, while they're walking. But anything that's transportable is perfect, because here's the thing too, like when our kids use strategies for weight or compression at school, sometimes they only have that in the setting of the school, but really they need it more than just the setting of the school. But because it's part of the school, or it might be materials that are brought in by the therapist, they can't take it home. So this is something that you can generalize to
take it home.
It can be used for transitions. It can be used to go to the dentist. It can be used to go to the doctors. It can be used for long car rides. And not only does something like this, and the reason this fabric is extra special, is that not only does it give the deep pressure input that some of our kids are craving, but it also does what?
I love this. I mean, this was, I was sitting, before we got started, I'm like, oh, I really like this. I think so also what's
it's very tactile and also visually.
Yeah, and for me, I think what's extremely important, what you said, is the fact that they can take it everywhere. I want to say this because sometimes our parents don't know how to use these things.
Right.
So what would be the time limit? I mean, do you let your kid push the lap pad off? Is there a certain time period they should have it on? Because as a therapist, you guys know how to do this. At home, if we're doing this, it's like, how long do we use these types of things for our kiddos?
And this is not something that's like a one-size-fits-all, or I can give you the perfect recipe for, right? This is an intervention. It's a tool. It is to be used when you need it to be used.
Okay.
So when I say that, I mean if your child is struggling, and I mean this in the context of a classroom setting or in the context of doing homework, if they're struggling, mealtime, if they're struggling to sit, that would be the perfect time to utilize this. And like I said, not every child with autism will benefit from this type of an intervention. This may be totally very noxious and aversive to some of our kids that don't like deep touch. You just have to know your child, you have to know your student, their needs, what they're craving, what they're needing at that very moment in that particular situation.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. This is an amazing project.
Thank you.
It's low cost, it's easy to do.
Right.
And it's something, again, that's an excellent resource for anybody who's in the space, whether they're our teachers or therapists or parents dealing with people on the spectrum. Thank you for being
You're
here
welcome.
today.
Thank you for having me.
So if you like this project and you want the details behind it, please go on to www.onthespectrum.tv, where you can not only subscribe to On the Spectrum, you can download resources to do cool projects like this right in the comfort of your own home. Please be sure to comment, even if you have a question. Our in-house experts like Stephanie Graff are available to answer those questions. So please be sure to leave us a message. We want to hear from you, and we want to be able to support you through this process. That's all the time we have. See you next time on The Spectrum. So I'm I'm sitting here playing with this.
I know.